darkness and light collide. Two flames burn eternal. From the sacred halls of Freemasonry to the roaring highways of the widow's sons comes a brotherhood forged in truth, honor, and fire. This is no ordinary podcast. This is the voice of the craft, reminding you that the sun never sets on the widow's sons. From the heartland of America, welcome to the Two Burning Tapers podcasts with your hosts, Skittles and Gilligan.
Welcome back to Two Burning Tapers. We're spreading good light, keep Blue Lodge first, and remind the world that the sun never sets on the widow's sons. And tonight, brothers, we've got a special guest joining us, a man who represents leadership, commitment, and true Masonic brotherhood on the highway and in the lodge room. He is the president of Nebraska Widow Sons, a dedicated Mason, and a brother who understands that faith, family, and the craft come first. Brothers, help us welcome Brother Z, your state president of Nebraska. Welcome, Brother Z.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Right on.
So that was awesome.
Great
Brother
speech,
Gilligan,
buddy.
you still
Great
with us?
speech.
Thank you, brother.
Well, that's inspiring. That's from seat of the pants.
Just made that up on the fly. You know, sometimes I do the introductions every now and then. So, Brother Z, I've got to know, I guess just starting off, we want to get to know, obviously you're the Nebraska state president of the Widow Sons, but before you got there, I'd love to hear your Masonic journey. How did Freemasonry find you?
It was, something that honestly, the first time I ever thought about it, it ever crossed my mind, anything. I was shooting pool. I have a twin brother, and it was one of his friends that was there. And he had the Masonic ring on, and I was in my mid-20s, early to mid-20s, and we were shooting pool at this bar, and I seen the shiny ring, of course it grabs attention, and I asked him about it and what it is, and he's like, "Oh, that's my Mason ring." And then we said, "Oh, that's kind of cool," and didn't know much about it. And then I asked him later on, I was like, "Well, how do you get to be a Mason?" And he goes, "Well, there's a process and stuff." He didn't allude to it a whole lot.
Mhm.
And then like a day later, he called me and he said, "Hey, you asked me about how to be a Mason. Now I'm going to tell you, to be a Mason, you ask a Mason." So, and it kind of went from there. And he said, he goes, "I can tell you where your lodge is," because he was from Texas Oklahoma. And so he was not from Nebraska and stuff like that. So he goes, "I can help you find a lodge and stuff like that if you're interested in it." And it sort of fell off a little bit after that, but that was my first exposure to it. And it came up in conversation again later on. And this is very, very sticking in my mind. An uncle of mine who was a great man. His name was Dale Hogan. He was a person I was naturally drawn to. And now it makes perfect sense after knowing what I know. But I did a lot for him and my aunt. They were an older couple, and they had a lake cabin, which as a young single guy, I loved going to the lake and having the boat to do stuff with.
Mm-hmm.
Was talking to him about it one day, and I said, "Oh, I met a Mason once. I was kind of interested in that." And boy, he shot up in his chair and he looked at me. He goes, "You want to be a Mason?" He said, "You will be contacted." And it was from then on, I was contacted. So the local lodge reached out to me, and kind of took it from there. I had an interview. They showed up at my work. I was surprised. They actually did it, and it was Platte Valley Lodge 32 in North Platte, Nebraska. And I started my journey from there, and went through. I was had a lot more free time on my hands back then, and so I was able to go through all 3 degrees relatively quickly. There was a gentleman in the lodge. His name was Glenn Mulholland. He was an older guy, but he was the speech guy, the ritualist. I mean, he had it down pat. He was he would go for a walk every day, and he would work on a different section of any of the degrees and all that. He said, he would never stop walking until it was perfect. And he said, some days I take really long walks, but he could go through the stair lecture like a parent tells their kid their favorite bedtime story, a story they've told 1,000 times, and they know inside and out, upside down. They could pick up in any section and leave right off. He could do that in the any part of the lectures, but it was amazing hearing that guy recite words. And they were really, it wasn't just him, but that spreads. He was like that. So the other people in the lodge, you enunciated things. You said artificer, you know,
Right.
and things like that. Words you never use outside of lodge, but you enunciated them the way they were to be correctly and stuff. So it was you can realize now it was a very, very good lodge to come up into.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting time, as in there was probably I mean, I was in my mid-20s. There was a 40-year age gap between me and most of the guys, maybe even 50 years with some of them, like Glenn and those other guys. So we were at completely different stages of life, but I appreciated it. They got me, you know, the year after I was a master, they started me out as a tiler and started moving me through the chairs. In 2009, I was master of the lodge in Platte Valley Lodge 32 in North Platte, Nebraska. And a time after that, I moved to Grand Island, Nebraska, where I'm at now. So, but no, it was a great experience. So, and when I look back, I have nothing but fond memories. I'm very excited. I'm going back on Valentine's Day on Saturday. They're doing a George Washington degree. And
Nice.
all past masters. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to be sitting in the South, but it will have been, I've been to the lodge and sat in the lodge, but obviously not in a chair. So it's been since 2009 since I sat in a chair in that lodge. So I'm kind of excited to be going back and being able to do that with them. So,
Yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, in a nutshell, that was my journey into masonry.
Nice. And when was that? Like, what year was that you started that again? You said
It would have been 2003, probably.
2003 when you were raised.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And you
Dang.
have been a past master, correct? Is what I heard.
Yep, a past master and then a past potentate as well of Tehama Shrine.
So you've been the
We're in the
potentate.
presence. Yeah, we're in the
Yeah, I was
presence
a
of a
potentate too.
potentate.
So,
Woo!
Nice.
so yeah,
Nice.
there again, that's another fun journey. So I wouldn't recommend doing it till you're retired. I don't think that I did that one right. But,
Right. Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
But
Fair enough. I was
yeah,
gonna say,
but it's a lot of fun.
me and Skittles have both been through the hot sands ourselves, and we're both
There you go.
we're both southern district on the Scottish Rite.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you're a northern district, correct?
right. But I have not joined the Scottish Rite. It's one of those things that if I commit to something, I want to commit to it fully. So I keep saying, like, I'm saving that one for after I do that.
I meant Shriners, but I said Scottish Rite.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to take any credit that I haven't earned. Gilligan said, I have not been across the hot sands yet.
Okay.
I'm Scottish Rite. I'm not Shriner yet.
Okay, that's
That's
right.
opportunity for any Shriner listening to this podcast. So get
Nab
that
me
man a
up.
petition, right?
Yeah.
Get me a petition, baby.
Get
Yep.
your petition.
One more
baby.
dues.
Right. But hey, the
So.
dues go for a really good cause for all the kids, man. And you know, it's funny.
Yep.
I'm always out and people ask me, like, just in general, and they're like, I say something about Freemasonry and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, you don't know what Freemasonry is? And they're like, no. And the first thing I say is like, do you know what a Shriner is? Like the Shriners Hospitals or the kosher, like in our town, it's kosher Shriner Circus. I was like, do you know what that is? And they're like, oh, yeah. All those guys. I was like, yeah, to be one of those, you have to be a Master Mason or a Freemason to even be a part of that. And they're like, but they still don't understand what that means. But they kind of have some kind of idea of what the meaning of a Freemasonry is, or what a person is to be a Freemason, because they see that light of Shriners, so they associate that to be good because they're good with kids and that type of stuff. Just throwing that out there. My brain thought there for a second.
Yeah.
So no, that is they are the public face of masonry and stuff. In Nebraska, I don't know if you guys do it. I would say the most interaction as Masons we have to do with children in the public is the CHIPS program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do that, where the child identification program?
Well, yeah, we have that. Yep.
Yeah, for kids that are lost and stolen. I did that. I used to lead it when I was in North Platte, and I've done several of them since I moved to Grand Island. But that's a good thing, you know. We do it at the state fair and different things. And But that, like I said, is a master mason. That's your deluge into the public and dealing with children and stuff. But yeah,
Right.
like I said, everybody knows we're Shriners. In North Platte, where I'm from, the Nebraska Land Days Parade. That's North Platte's lodge at Platte Valley Lodge. Their claim to fame is that Buffalo Bill Cody that's his home lodge.
Okay.
So a lot of people have heard of Buffalo Bill Cody, and they have his petition framed and hanging up in the lodge and stuff when he joined back in the I'm pretty sure he's in the 1800s. So
Nice.
Mm.
For
But,
those that don't know, do you want to tell us who he is?
Buffalo Bill Cody, he was he was he's a very famous circus, that Annie Oakley and stuff like that. They shot, and it was a big traveling circus that traveled all over the U.S. Buffalo Bill, because he used to buffalo hunting for to feed. They sold him to the railroad when the
Okay.
railroad was crossing the United States. That was where the railroad got food to feed the workers, was by groups of guys like him, and they'd go out and hunt buffalo, which it. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen stuff like that. It's not very skilled. They're huge. They're huge, and they don't move very fast, and they just kind of stand there, and they would shoot down huge swaths of them and then
Right.
skin them and,
Right.
and do that. But that was Buffalo Bill Cody. That was his how he got his nomenclature, and then he, like I said, he created the traveling circus and went all around. But his hometown was North Platte, Nebraska. His mansion by 1800 standards is still
Right.
there.
Right.
And
Nice.
so nomenclature means road name.
Probably. There you go. That was his name.
Yeah, I love that, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start asking
Yeah.
people their nomenclature. Brother, thank you. You just taught me something. I appreciate you. You're good people.
You just taught him a big word there, brother. You just taught him a big word.
Nomenclature.
I hope we're using it right, but no, I can definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
Nice.
definitely not gonna text anybody that, but I'll say it.
There's absolutely no way I'm texting anybody that unless
No.
Siri spells it for me. Nice.
what would we do without Syrian spell check?
Right. Right.
So, brother, you joined Masonry around 2003, and then it sounds like you got extremely active. You were a young man in it. Found some good brothers.
Yeah.
How did the Widow Sons find you?
So the Widow's Sons found me by going to Sturgis with my twin brother. We used to ride up there, and at that time I was a Mason. He did join Masonry, but he didn't really stick with it, so it wasn't as big a deal to him. But walking around Sturgis and seeing that patch on the back of someone's vest and with the Masonic symbols, and asking a guy, what's the Widow's Sons? Well, we're a Masonic motorcycle group. So I came back to Nebraska, and I hit up the good old internet, and is there Widow Sons in Nebraska? So I started searching, and I found a group, I thought, and they had a contact, and I reached out to them, sent an email, never heard anything back. Longest time. Went up the next year to Sturgis, seen more Widow Sons done, and really wanted to, to belong to a group like that. So looked a little bit more, kept pinging, and there again, it kept coming back to this group in Lincoln, and kept pinging a guy, and finally got a reply, saying, "Oh, I never check this email very often and stuff, but yeah, we meet on this date, and if you want to come over, come over." So they had it was a group that had started, and I'll say somewhat as stagnated as far as growth had gone. They hadn't had a lot of new members since they started. They still met regularly. I know at the time there was a couple of guys that had went to, I believe it was Missouri regional rally a few years earlier. Maybe that was in like 2015 that they had done that, but they hadn't traveled a lot, and I don't want to like put it down, but they didn't do a whole lot other than meet. And then I joined, and it wasn't long after that a few other people started joining, and the group really got momentum and traction. And I was telling him before we jumped on that 2017 was when we started traveling a lot more as a group. We went down to Kansas to the Lee brothers. They were at a chapter at the time that was, I think it was just the three of them, the 47th problem of Euclid. And we traveled down there to that as a group. And that was our first big outing for the state of Nebraska. And I could tell you stories about that trip for days. It was an amazing experience. And after that, I would say we were hooked with Nebraska. We started traveling to a lot of different rallies. And
That's how
then
it starts.
that's how it starts. So I did have to mention, I was telling him earlier, it was funny when we rode down there. We pulled into the parking lot and there were hundreds of motorcycles, just hundreds of them. And I'm just like, my goodness, these widow sons are huge. Well, you get inside where the convention center was, and that wasn't the case. It was Salina, Kansas in 2017, and it was the Lee brothers having a rally. There was maybe 50 guys there for that. But whoever had booked the conference center for that weekend is also the Hell Lovers MC regional gathering was going on at that time. So there was a lot of bikers there. And then in between the two conference rooms where we were, there was the Lions of Judah Baptist Church revival going on. So it was an interesting weekend in Salina, Kansas. So, but no, so we started traveling and doing that, and then one of the or a couple of the guys that had joined there again. The big thing was they updated their website. They got recent contact information, so other Masons that wanted to be widow sons could find you, and that's when the group started growing quite a bit. Omaha, Nebraska started a second chapter. And that was exciting. And then it wasn't too awful long after that. Western Nebraska is the population density is not that much. Small towns, very far apart. Western travelers, they are an amazing group of brothers that are spread out by miles. I mean, hundreds of miles of separation. They still get together and meet and do that stuff. And Chris Spradlin is the president of that group, but they're loyal and just as tight a chapter as any, with hundreds of miles separating them. It's very inspirational. So that's the third chapter. And then, as we mentioned earlier when we were talking, the Widow Sons in Nebraska, Memento Mori was the grand chapter that chartered those other two. And now we're in transition, going to the state board model. And we are going to be adding, within a month, we will have the fourth chapter added for the state of Nebraska.
Right.
So
I was going to say, I bet your Blue Lodges are growing really big right now too, aren't they?
it is helping tremendously. Grand Lodge just got over, and that's definitely Widow Sons is something on their tongues. They're talking about what it's doing. I'm probably getting it wrong, but I believe the Grand Senior Deacon is got a petition for that Western Travelers Lodge, because he's kind of from out in that western end of the state, and he's getting in. And they've talked to us about doing an article in the Masonry magazine that comes out in Nebraska about Masons widow sons that have joined Masonry just to become widow sons.
Nice.
So
nice.
it is definitely something that can drive members to your lodge. So
I was going to say, we just talked on our podcast that dropped this week, was the Grandmasters Conference is in Chicago this weekend, and some of our guys like Joe Norman and them are going up to talk about the Widow Sons and how the Widow Sons is growing the Blue Lodges, and some of those states that don't and haven't had Widow Sons because they've had a bad taste from other motorcycle clubs, or they've seen too much Sons of Anarchy, and that's their mindset, because they are like, oh, Masons can't be bikers. Well, we can. Just depends on how you view us. Don't view us from the outside. View us from the inside. Just as we are Masons, we just all share something in common a little bit more than just being Masons. That leads me into one of my questions. How long have you owned a motorcycle? Did you own a motorcycle before you became a Freemason, or did you buy a motorcycle after you became a Freemason?
Well, I've always had since I was a kid, I've always went from dirt bikes to street bikes. In my younger years, I went through the crotch rocket phase, and
So you stole one of those things out of your old lady's nightstands, huh? Sorry.
Exactly. So, yeah. So no, my wife loves telling the story.
Show your age. I want to know what crotch rocket you were on.
I started
This will tell me how old you are.
It was the one that I had a Suzuki Katana and a GSXR.
Gixxer guy.
Yeah,
nice.
a Gixxer, but that was back when they were 750 and it was carbureted. They were still carbureted. Yeah.
That was that was like a GS 750.
Yeah.
Suzuki GS.
Yep, GS 750. My dad had one of them things. I used to ride the fuck out of it. Carbureted. It was fast.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it was fast.
Yeah, they're fast and fun. Obviously the fastest I've ever went's been on something like that. You can't go out and do 170 miles an hour on a Harley. They
Hell
don't
no,
let
Mhm.
you, but
after 120, that front wheel starts going.
yeah,
Mhm.
I still remember the oh no, I'm dead moment. The first time that we were going that up, I rode with a bunch of guys and different bikes, but all that, and somewhere around 160 miles an hour, I hit the rev limiter, and the bike just lunges forward. It just dies. You're in top gear,
Yeah.
wide open. You're locked in, and it just lunges. I was, life flashed before my eyes, and
Yeah.
but I slowed down and I was fine. But then it's one of those things too. There was a guy that had a CBR 929,
Yeah.
and he could pass us all like we were standing still. That was in the back when they weren't governed to 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
Pre
you could, yeah.
2001.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, back there again, you want to know how old you are back in the day, you could go out, and when they first came out with the Hayabusa, you could put a Yoshimura exhaust system on one of those things and tune it and have well over 200 horsepower to the rear tire in a bike that was not limited. There again, I'd always heard, that it was because people kept blowing themselves off. You can't sit up at 200 miles an hour without getting blown off the back of the bike. And they kind of decided maybe this isn't a good idea to make machines that can go that fast. So,
Mhm.
That's why they gave us
but
that 187 cap. That's it.
yeah,
187 mile an
exactly.
hour.
Because
That's
that's
it.
saving lives. That's saving lives.
Yeah. What's the
But
difference between 187 and 200? Let us do 200. Come on.
yeah, exactly. But
Salt flats.
yeah,
That'd be the place to do
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
But
So,
so you owned a motorcycle way before you became a Mason. So I
yeah,
always say
long before I became a Mason. So, yeah.
right. So I always say there's different types of widow sons that join the widow sons. There's ones that owned motorcycles their whole life and been motorcycle enthusiasts, and they're joining to have the brotherly love and camaraderie, but they're also looking for a little bit more of a club style through our Masonic Writers Association. But we are a Masonic Writers Association, but your mind's thought might be a little different than someone that is just a standard Mason, found us after being a Freemason and never owned a motorcycle, and then they say, I want to buy a motorcycle and join Freemasonry with us or join the Widow Sons. There's nothing wrong with that. That we just know there's a different mindset when it comes to things like that.
I would absolutely agree with that. I was a widow's son before I was a widow's son. I used to ride my motorcycle to Lodge all the time. My wife always used to tease me that in Platte Valley Lodge, they were older people or older group of gentlemen that were in that lodge. I wore suit and tie to Lodge because that's what everyone wore. And my wife used to always tease me because I'd have mosquitoes in my suit coats, from riding
Mhm.
the
From
bike in the
riding.
summertime, and yeah, killing all the bugs, wearing the suit coat and tie on the motorcycle on the way to Lodge.
Yeah.
So,
I would say growing up riding dirt bikes, and then owning street bikes, and then finding at one point in my Freemasonry journey, I was like, man, I really wish there was a Masonic motorcycle association or a club that I could join, and because I would really want to be a part of that, and I found that by a gentleman coming into my work. Like, I worked on cars for a living. He'd come into my work passing out a flyer, and that was one of their Hooter Hops flyers, where it was kind of like a little poker run, and that's how my journey started. I was like, oh, so just being able to hear how you have like motorcycle background with Freemasonry, and then riding in Freemasonry, and then the Widow Sons found you. When were you branded?
2017 in Salina, Kansas.
Yeah.
2017. So you're
That was
getting
the year to get branded.
say
Yep.
you're coming up on your 10 year.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Nice. I do
So,
believe Brother Skittles was branded the same year, 2017.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was the best year for the Widow Sons.
there you go. Where were you branded at, Skittles?
I was branded in Kentucky. I got it Kentucky style, which Kentucky's home of the branding. And so I was very proud of that and enjoyed it. But what's maybe we'll talk off air about that. I just wanted to ask you about
Fair enough.
Nebraska branding. We'll talk later about that.
Fair enough. Yep.
Some things are not allowed to be
Yeah.
spoken on this
Some
podcast.
things are not public. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, nobody thinks this is true, but there are some things I don't talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Fair enough, fair enough. So, I didn't get to catch the front half of your, masonry journey, because my internet was being a little retarded. Did you say that did you have any family members or anything that was Freemasonry that you knew before you found Freemasonry?
Yeah, it was an uncle that I asked, and he's the one that got me into it. I didn't know he was a Mason till after I had seen one of my brother's friends wearing a Masonic ring that was, in our age group, and that made me start to think about it. And the second I mentioned it, my uncle sat up in his chair and, "You want to be a Mason? You will be contacted." So my uncle Dale Hogan, he passed away this last year at 93, but he was my inspiration in Masonry because he did it, and he actually came out there when I was raised. He lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, and came out and raised me. And that was, it's one of the things you'll never forget.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. You definitely don't forget the person that raised you. That's for sure. And you definitely, like I heard you talking earlier about the gentleman in your lodge that knew all the work and like
Yeah,
he knew the degree work. That's the person in your lodge that everyone should strive to be. When I joined in my lodge, there was a gentleman named Danny Indrist, and I met with that gentleman once a week. Me, my dad, my little brother, and my dad's little brother. We all went through it at the same time. We met once a week, every week, and we went over our study work, but that man always had a smile on his face. Every time he greeted somebody coming into the lodge, it was always a very taken in the lodge, it was very nice, and he just made it humble for you to come in, and it just made you wanna come back. I always tell people that senior deacon spot in your lodge when they're bringing them in, that interaction is the most important, and that's the same thing through the Widow Sons is that first interaction, make that first interaction an amazing interaction. I guarantee it'll help grow your Blue Lodge and grow your Widow Sons. 100%.
absolutely. So I look back now too on that, and I was young, and I can appreciate it more as an older adult now. The amount of time that man dedicated to me, there again, didn't know me from Adam when I walked in off the street until I was entered into started working through the degrees, and he just devoted a huge amount of his time, and that is, I mean, and made me feel welcome, just like you said. Always had a smile. He was never like annoyed or upset about doing this. He would sit there and work with me, just hours on. And that was back obviously a different time when we had to do the long form in Nebraska. So it was a different, lot more memorization back then.
I would say, are y'all short form now? Has that changed through your state?
We just went back to short form. We were long form, and then we went to short form, and then we went back to long form for a while, and we are back to short form only as soon as like a year ago.
I gotcha. And is that your state Grand Lodge changing it, or is that
Yep,
just okay?
yep, that's the Grand Lodge.
I got you. I'm assuming being brought up in front of the board and the board just voting it up or down. Yeah, I got you. There's pros and cons to that. It definitely helps with membership because sometimes it is hard to memorize things. Um, and then on the other foot, it also takes away from the degree work and it doesn't make you want to
Mhm,
learn the degree work. You kind of get to go through it a little bit faster. So I
Yeah.
see both sides of the coin on that.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's definitely a double-edged sword. Long form does make a lot of good Masons, but it also kills. I mean, there's a lot of people that are joining as grown adults that say, "I don't have the time it takes to memorize this." That doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they won't make good Masons. It just means literally they're working professionals with families and kids, and they cannot spend the amount of time. As an adult now, if we were in long form and I was joining Masonry at my age, there's no way I would be able to do that. But back then, I was in my 20s and single, and I had time, And like I said, thank goodness they had time to work with me, and we got through it. And I'm very very grateful for the education that I got, but I couldn't do it
mhm.
now,
Right. I was
So
gonna say,
I
I
feel the
got
exact
mine.
same way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got mine when I was younger. I didn't have any kids. I was able to put in the time to learn and study, be able to do that. Kentucky's long form. Now, having 3 kids, having a travel ball team, having a work schedule and everything on top of that, absolutely not. I'd be like, "Where would you like me to throw that study in? Do you want me to throw it in, like, now? before I go to bed or while I'm sleeping, which is not a bad idea for those out there that are studying. Record yourself asking and answering the questions, throw your AirPods in and throw that shit on repeat. I mean, sometimes I listen to music to go to sleep. Subliminal messages, bro. Subliminal messages, right?
When I was working it, I didn't have AirPods, but there was an iPod. I had an iPod mini, and I did exactly that. I recorded on a computer and moved the MP4 over to my iPod mini of doing exactly that, reading my cipher into it. I'm pretty sure I'm breaking some rule by doing that. At least back then I thought I was, of all the
Right.
things you swear you're not going to do with it. But I'm like, it's on my iPod. So,
Right. I can
Yeah,
But-
in the obligation, it never said I will not record.
yeah. Yep.
That is facts. That is facts. So you're the state president of Nebraska, correct?
Yeah. The interim state president while we form a board.
Nice. Nice.
So,
All right. How long you been there?
as the state president only for about since last September.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
and then God willing, then it might carry on. But we're going to have our open election here at the beginning of March, and we'll see from there. But if it'll be every guy's going to vote on the board, and we'll see what happens.
Cool.
Right.
That's good.
Being able to everybody having a say or everybody having a vote is being on the level is 100% the way it is. Like trying to be like I love the humbleness that you have and you're like, yeah, I am, but it doesn't matter to me because some people get that title and then they get all bent out of shape and they're like, hey, look at me, look at my flashy thing here, look at this, and then they don't get that, they get upset and they get mad and then they lose the spot. They're like, why me? And I'm just like, it's not about you, buddy. It's about us. So wear
Yep.
it humbly. But you've been a past potentate. You know what that's all about. I mean, you said
Yep.
that in your lodge, that your lodge is an older lodge. I feel you on that. My home lodge, the average age is 70 plus, and I joined in my early 20s. So I'm standing there in that room. I'm like, what am I doing here? Why you guys want me here? And Freemasonry is the key, bud. That just
Yep.
I don't know how to explain Freemasonry other than like it's fantastic.
That it is. That's amazing. That's the only way to put it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're talking about how fantastic Freemasonry is, I'm gonna trap you in an elevator for a minute, and I'm
Okay.
Ooh, my favorite segment.
the favorite segment, the elevator speech.
Yeah, the elevator speech, man.
I'm gonna ask you, brother. I see you got a nice cool hat on there. What does 2319 mean?
Well, the 2319 is it's WS or the widow's sons. Well, 23rd letter and 19th letter of the alphabet.
Nice, nice.
And so what's the Widow Sons?
They are a Masonic. Do you know what Masons are? They're a Masonic motorcycle riding association. So we're not a motorcycle club. It's a group of Masons who like to enjoy motorcycles, and they get together and they ride and raise money. The biggest charities, at least in Nebraska where we are, our main charities are focused on women and children, widows and orphans. And, it gets us together for a cause. So we have something to do outside of Masonry.
Nice.
And Brother Z, there's no right or wrong answer here, but what is Freemasonry to you?
That's the $1 million question, is it? So
Yeah,
it
right.
is obvious, other than it is the world's oldest fraternity. Most people can say, you know what a fraternity is? Yeah, it's the same thing, but for grown-ups. We get together. It's there's Masons in, almost every country. It bridges it, just like we were talking about earlier. It puts you in, gives you something to relate to somebody that's 80 years old that is a Mason. You guys have that in common. There's not a lot of stuff that a 20-year-old and an 80-year-old would have in common. But if you're Masonry, you have the same words, the same rituals, the same everything that they have learned. My 93-year-old uncle and me at the time when I was in my early 20s and starting into it, we had
Mhm.
something in common.
Yeah,
Nice.
So
right on, brother. Well, Gilligan, so we had Brother Z on because we've got some rallies coming up this year, and I think that's what we were actually supposed to talk about tonight.
No. We're supposed to talk about Brother Z all night. No, come on. Let's keep talking about Brother Z. Let's dive in.
There you go.
Brother
So
Z, I'm assuming you have kids, right?
I do. I have 4 children.
All right. If you could give one parental advice, Brother Parker over here is a brand new parent of a baby girl. What is one parental advice that you could give him? Because I'm assuming your kids are older. Mine are 8, 7, and 4. What would some Masonic, like, maybe it doesn't have to be Masonic, but just one parental advice you could give him?
Parental advice. I saw you on Facebook, you holding your beautiful new daughter there, and it took me back to in 2009 when I had my daughter, and wondering how you can instantly love something so much and be so willing to die for something that you literally is seconds old, that has just been brought into this world, and you're holding your arms and you're like, I literally would move mountains for this new soul in my life. And you will realize that feeling happens when they're young, because when they're 17, if you didn't have that, they wouldn't be around anymore. You
Right.
have to go back to those times and all the sweet little innocent moments that you have when they're young growing up, to appreciate what they are when they are teenagers. So boys, it's a lot different, because you were a boy and growing up and you just get it. It's hilarious. Like, when I give boys a hard time and I was ratting on them, and my wife is just like, why are you so mean to the boys? And I'm like, that's not mean. That's just the way guys are. And then she gets around me and some of my friends and she's like, I get it. You basically say inappropriate jokes and call each other inappropriate names all the
All
time.
day.
I would insult my sons in front of their friends, teasing them, and she's like, why do you say that for other friends? They're going to get so mad and they're never going to want to talk to you. Now fast forward in life, and who do they call more often than their mom? They call their dad, and stuff like that. But like I said, so boys are easier, girls are not. But remember those times and enjoy it. So, because when they hit puberty, it's a different ball game.
I got 3
So
in this household, but I'm not looking forward to that. Thanks for that advice myself.
yeah, remember the good times. That's what I want to say. So I don't know. Girls it's a lot different than boys. Like I said, boys you can understand the same way with school and the way they interact, their social things. I would, you know, slit my wrist if I had to be a teenage girl, and try to navigate the nuances that they go through on a daily basis of the implied and inferred things that they worry about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So since we're speaking of parties, Skittles, since Nebraska and a couple other states are gonna be throwing a big party.
We are. So absolutely happy to talk about that. So September 10th through the 13th, mark your calendars, set it up. So this is the North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa. We're calling it the Midwest Regional. So states coming together to have a big regional rally. It's going to be in Christensen Field in Fremont, Nebraska. And for those of you that a lot of you guys probably know, I'll say a very famous Nebraska widow's son is Philo. You guys met Philo?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
He's
goes to
a
more
member of the
rallies than
Brussels sprout degree.
Yeah.
he is. Yes. He told me about that. So, but he travels more than almost as much as I think One-Eyed Rick does. He put 50 some thousand miles on his bike last year doing stuff. But anyways, so if you know Philo, he goes to lots of rallies and knows lots of people. He and his lady Cookie are getting married on the Thursday before. So don't come on the 10th. The rally starts on the 10th. Come on the 9th, because it is their wedding, and it's one of those things you're not going to want to hear about it. You're going to want to be at it. So you do not want to miss an event like that. It's open to everyone, same location, same field, same catering. They're going to have live music that night too. So that's on Thursday night. Please come out and help, bless their union. It's an amazing time, and it will set the mood for the whole weekend, which Nebraska has been working hard along with North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa. They have all pitched in, and this is going to be a very, very good time. A lot of the things, food trucks, admit, like you guys are saying, we're gonna have coffee trucks there.
Nice.
So food trucks,
Yeah.
coffee trucks, games. We're having, there another Nebraska guy, Bird Dog. He's worked really hard to get
I know
like
Bird
knocker
Dog.
balls and some other. Yeah. So he's worked hard to get a lot of other entertainment out there as well. We've got a DJ on Friday night, DJ Cheeseburger, and the Cole Younger band is going to be playing on Saturday night. And
Nice.
it's going to be a really good time. We have a lot of vendors coming. We're going to have tattoo artists there for the whole event. So a lot of good things
Nice.
like that. The branding, I was going to talk about it, but I guess the more I think about it, I don't want to give it away. So if you've never been branded, of course, this will be something you'll never forget. But if you have been branded, I guarantee this is something you've never seen before and you will never forget. I guess never say never. I can't speak with absolute certainty, but I'm willing to go that you've never been to a branding like we're going to have. The location and the place we have picked out, the experience is going to be one in a million, and I'll say it's something you can only do in Nebraska. So
Right. I was gonna say
Okay.
the
so
Okay.
come.
experience of where you're at and the setup is almost sometimes I will say way more important because you can the lead up and then the what happens and then the aftermath that sets a mindset to your brain. Like the event of it actually happening and then the mind change and then seeing it come through. That's why I think sometimes the branding is so important when we miss it and we just think it's just sometimes we just pass through. We just allow them to pass through sometimes. I think we miss the mark. So I hope that you guys nail it like you guys always do.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be one of a kind thing. So we're really looking forward to that. So the guys have put a lot of work into what that's going to look like. So come on out. Like I said, it's going to be a really good time. So
Nice.
Are you
the
guys
fundraisers.
doing any
So a lot of
rides
it's
or anything? Are you guys doing
yes,
any
we're
rides
doing
or yeah?
a grandmasters. Yeah, we're doing a grandmasters ride. The Nebraska grandmaster is going to be there on Saturday for the dinner, and we're doing a ride in his honor.
Whoa.
And yeah, absolutely. There again, helping with the Blue Lodges and getting stuff like
Nice.
that. They've actually invited us to do a few other rides throughout the year on behalf of the Grand Lodge. So that's a really good thing. But we're going to do one at the rally, and it's going to be a dang good time. It's Nebraska, so don't get your hopes up. If you're wanting twisty, windy, fun, curvy rides, it's the Great Plains.
It's flat.
There's not unless you're following a river, there's really no twists here in Nebraska.
Mhm.
So it is, but it is what it is. But we've got a lot of place to ride. If anybody's on the fence wondering, Nebraska got rid of the helmet law like 2 years ago, so you don't have to wear a helmet anymore like you used to, and things like
Nice.
that. I know for a long time that kept people.
Nice.
You always got a kick out of the weight of Sturgis. Nebraska was on the way to Sturgis, and bikers would go around the state of Nebraska just to avoid having to stop and put on a helmet for one
Right.
state. So that's gone. So there really should be no excuses not to come now, right?
Yeah,
Right,
man.
right.
So
As somebody who previously crashed on their face, I appreciate us removing the helmet law.
mhm. I I still wear mine all the time. I've been in a lot of wrecks over the years, and you know, so I got to owe a lot of credit to those things on my head. So I always wear one no matter what. But it's just like a seatbelt. I want it to be my choice. I feel a lot better
Yeah,
that I'm wearing it
100%.
because I want to, not because I have to now. So
Right,
Amen.
right.
Amen.
That's understandable. I say the same thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, Brother Z, I cut you off. You were gonna talk about your the charities.
yeah, sorry about that. So the Eastern Star has a home for children, and that is actually there in Fremont. And we're going to take a big tour. And half of the funds that are raised are going to them. Another quarter of the funds is going to a military charity that works with soldiers that have PTSD. And then the last part of it is going to go to a women's advocacy center called I believe it's the Bridge of Hope. So it works with uh, you know women that have been in crisis situations and are recovering from that.
Mhm.
three very good charities. That's one thing that I love. At least other states do it, so we're not the only ones. But sometimes you go and you have no idea what the money that rally or that thing is making money for. We really want to bring it front and center. We're going to have people from each one of these charities come and tell you exactly where what you're doing goes to and how it matters. What your donation is going to mean to them and for them. And that's something that we've done in the past, and it's just moving. When you hear the people get up there and talk about what you're doing for them, and it makes you feel good as a widow son. It makes you feel good as a Mason, and it makes you feel good as a person. You're not just getting together to hang out. That's a big part of what we do, but that's not why you're doing it. It's not just the social interaction and an excuse to go ride your motorcycle. It is for a purpose.
Correct. That's why we're here. That's why we're Masons. We're here for a purpose to take care of the widows and orphans. That's why we are a widow's sons.
Absolutely.
We are here for the
Yeah.
widows and orphans. So why not take care of them? Some forget.
So absolutely. So we're like I said, please, if you want to check it out on Facebook, go to Widow Sons Nebraska, public Facebook page. You can get registered on there. There's a jot form, simple and easy, couple of clicks, and you're registered. So there's some more information, some more flyers, more things
Link
about it right
below.
there. Link below. Okay.
Yeah.
Link below.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, brother. So I'm so interested with all these. How is it working with other states to put on an event like this?
It's been great so far. Granted, we started out in Nebraska, so we're doing a lot of it. But they have been on the calls, and they're like very supportive with ideas and doing what they do. And they're like, anything you need, let us know. So we're looking forward to it. We're also trying to take good notes so that next year, when it goes to another state, they kind of got a little bit of a playbook to work off from.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
That's
I was
nice.
talking to another podcast this weekend on the phone, and something they were talking about in their Blue Lodge was SOPs. Oh no, I just forgot what a SOP stands for.
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah, of course, we all know that. Standard operating procedure. But their lodge was writing out SOPs for something as simple as like a pancake breakfast that they put on. Like who brings
Yeah.
this, who sets up this. And so I love the thought that you guys doing Midwest, Mid-South, whatever
Mhm.
group state rally that you guys are writing out, hey, we did this, we did, like, somebody has to bring forks and spoons. Something simple, but it could be overlooked, right?
Yep. Absolutely. From security to emergency response plans. We do have tornadoes. We talked about that on the plan. Like, is there enough room in the emergency shelters? It's at a big fairground area and stuff like that. So we have an ERP, emergency response plan, and things like that. So yeah, it's there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of behind the scenes. Anybody that's been part of a rally, whether it's big or small, they realize it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just come together. It's an amalgamation of so many efforts and so many different people and so many different things, either before and at the event. So
I was gonna say, what is the weather like in September at that time frame in that area? Because I have no idea. And if I would be traveling up there, I always travel, and I've taught Skittles how to travel. You always travel with all seasons.
Was bring your
of-
rain gear. Yeah.
Always bring your rain
Everything.
gear, bring your electric gear to get hot. Like, you have extra everything
Yeah.
just in case. But if I was coming up to your rally in September, what should I be expecting on my road trip to get to you? What kind of weather?
usually in September, and this is a little bit towards the middle of September, so the heat has broken. Late July, August are the dog days in Nebraska. We get a lot of humidity. We have plenty of days that exceed 100 in here, but by September it has broken, and it will get warm during the day, but it'll start to cool off at night. Not cold, but cool, so you have some relief from the heat and the sun. But it's still going to be plenty warm. I would expect to be in the 90s still in September, maybe the 80s during the day, and then cooling off at night. So you might need your rain gear because it does rain here, but you're probably not going to need your electric or heated gear or anything like that, unless you're from the a very southern state. So I travel for work quite a bit, and I just have to giggle when I'm down in like Arizona in December and I see some guy dressed up like an Eskimo on his Harley, and I'm just like, it's 65 degrees outside, and I'm driving around with my windows rolled down, you know.
Right?
but,
I would be
but yeah,
riding in a t-shirt right now if it was 65 degrees, but
yeah,
why do you got a hoodie on?
exactly, exactly.
But
So they wear a lot more than a hoodie. Some of those places.
yeah, I was
So
gonna say 65 degrees with no humidity in Arizona is definitely like a 40 degrees here in Kentucky with the humidity on top of it
yeah, yeah.
ish.
So
So I'm assuming you're gonna have hotel accommodations close,
yes,
on-site
there's
camping.
yep, on-site camping. There's a large campground nearby. If you look on Goat's list too, there's contacts there for Philo and for Bird Dog, and they will hook you up. Philo for all the campgrounds if you want to do that. He's got a block of rooms at hotels. If you go to that Facebook page, there's lots of stuff. Fremont is for Nebraska is a larger town, lots of hotels. There's not going to be any trouble finding a place to stay there.
Okay.
So for the
Can,
rally.
can you tell us more about the location of the rally? Is this like a state park? Is this a fairground?
It's a fairgrounds. Yeah,
Fairground.
Christensen
Okay.
Fields. Yeah, you would describe it as like a fairgrounds for that
Okay.
area.
So is there camper hookups and stuff on the
So
fairgrounds?
there are some. I believe that all of the campsites that are actually on the site are already filled. But like just across the road, there's a very large campground. So it's within walking distance, but just right across the street. And there are plenty of campsites to be had there with full hookups and service and things like that. So
Very good. Very good.
yep, absolutely. So we picked the town strategically. You know, we knew that we had to have a place that would have enough infrastructure to support this many people. We're hoping to have hundreds. I really hope it turns out to be that way.
Nice. Nice. We do too. We do.
Hmm.
That's why we have you on this podcast, helping you promote your y'all's rally. Hope other people want to jump on here and help promote their rallies because we love talking about it. We love seeing you guys on our podcast because it's y'all's platform. We're just a couple of goofballs that like to talk to each other. So we love having other people. We love having other people come on here and talk to us and kind of interact with us and give us their stories and let us know who they are, where they come from, and just kind of their state and what's going on with their rallies. I want to see guys stop dropping their rides. Like I want that information. Tell me when you got a local ride. Tell me when your local uh, uh, chapter meeting is. Post it on our Facebook so that way we can come visit. I mean, someone close, maybe in
Mm-hmm.
town. We can come visit you if I'm up in that
Mm-hmm.
area.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely happy to do that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a good thing. I travel a lot for work, and I don't do it as much as as I would like to, but I do try to reach out to Widow Sons chapters. I went to several different Masonic lodges and several different Widow Sons events for work with, brothers that I've never met before. And then, and then you go there and you leave as friends. So it's definitely a good way to reach out and stuff. So
Yes, it is. Skittles. You got anything
Yeah.
for Brother Z?
Yeah. Well, so first off,
shit.
Brother Z, I am so thankful and so honored to have, you on the podcast. It was really exciting, just leading up to tonight. And I really enjoyed talking to you both on the podcast. And I'm thankful I got some time off the podcast to talk to you. Loved hearing about your Masonic journey. It's just something I'm interested in. But a random question. What is your favorite Masonic working tool?
That's funny that you'd ask that. So the gavel is something that I guess as one of the leaders that I do in my position with the Widow Sons, and even at my work, I'm not the ultimate. I'm not the president of the company. I'm only a vice president, but there's a lot of people who look up to me, and I remember my time as master of the lodge, and the gavel as something I have. That I have the one that my that now wife, then fiance, presented to me when I was master of the lodge. So I would have to say that.
Nice. The gavel
Very
is
good. I
definitely
love that, brother.
that's definitely a good one.
Yeah, good
Nice.
answer. Gilligan, what do you got for Brother Z?
I would just love to say I would love to come see your rally. I'm gonna do my damnedest, because I know I know Brother Philo loves to party and have a good time.
He does indeed.
I've met that man at like 5 or 6 rallies this year. And I think he said he was on like number 16 when we met in Louisiana at the end of the rally season. I look forward to actually getting to see you in person and shaking your hand.
It would be an honor to see you guys in person.
Yep. Hell, we would love to come to your rally and show off with our podcast and be able to live broadcast some of your rallies. So we'll try to mark that on there. I know one of my things has always been trying to get to South Dakota for Sturgis, and I've never made it yet. But I know one thing that me and Skittles can solve in your state with those long straight roads.
Straight roads, yeah.
Yep. We can find out who's faster and who will hold it to the limit. Like who won't let go? Who won't let go?
Yeah.
Who won't lift?
Yep. Yeah, we got plenty of space to do that. Absolutely. So long straight roads. So, it's that all the, Nebraska, it's different when you're on the interstate, but when you fly over Nebraska, because I do a lot of that in the business that I'm in, and you're coming closer to Nebraska when all the roads start, or they're all in perfect squares and everything's running north and south.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of long straight roads. So yep, it's easy too. The squares are in sections, and a section's a mile, so you know exactly how many miles you are from stuff. So when you guys go to set up your race, just mark off a section.
Ooh, perfect.
Yep. Well, so Brother Z, is there anything you'd like to add? Any closing statements? Anything you want to just say to the craft while you're still on here?
No, again, I can't thank you enough. I'm honored to be on here. I was honored to be invited by you guys. That was an amazing deal. My face lit up when I seen that text message come from you guys, and it's just truly like I said, an exciting time. It is an exciting time to be a widow's son. It is an
very
exciting time to be a Mason, and I just love the growth and things that go on, not only just in our state, but as the widow's sons as a whole. And we keep seeing, more and more chapters and seeing this thing grow. Like you guys say so often, the sun never sets on a widow's son. Yeah, widow's son. So it's amazing for that. So like I said, by the time we have the rally, we'll have our full Nebraska 4 chapters, and we're going to show you a good time. And
nice.
with the other people, the other states being involved too, it's going to be. Tommy put it on the Facebook, brother Tommy, but so I love stealing his line though. It's not a rally you're going to want to hear about. It's a rally you're going to want to see.
Yeah,
So please,
I love that.
please go. Yeah, please go onto Facebook and get registered. If you can make it. There again, just in the same way going to Philo and Cookie's wedding. It's exciting. I can't wait for it to get here. It's so close yet so far away. We're still months away from it, but and I'm sure it'll be a lot more of a reality as it gets closer. But it's exciting, and I look forward to it. So
lots of planning, and then the day the rallies come, that's when you get to cut loose and have fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I definitely appreciate
right on, brothers.
you coming on our podcast and sharing your story of how Freemasonry found you and how the Widow Sons found you. And I can't wait to meet you in person, brother. And I tell you what, keep being the state president that you are, because you're doing it well. And I love the humbleness of how you're doing it.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Both you guys. Skittles, Gilligan, it means a lot.
Awesome, brother.
How'd you get your road name, Skittles? I was wondering that.
I'll talk to you off air.
Fair enough.
Gilligan, you mind if I put a bow on this?
Yeah, put a bow on it. Pull us out.
Man, I'm just laughing so much. I tell you what, I enjoy you guys so much. This is great. All right, I'm just going to make something up real quick. I'm not even going to read anything. You asked for it. You voted for a state president on the podcast, and tonight we delivered with Brother Z, state president of Nebraska, joined us and brought another story of faith, hope, and charity into the books. That's what this show is all about. Real brothers, real leadership, and real light. And now you've got all the details for the upcoming Midwest Regional Rally. Brother Philo and soon-to-be wife Cookie, trying to tie the knot just before the rally, is kicking it off. We've got food trucks, coffee trucks, games, DJ Cheeseburger holding it down, Cole Young doing music Saturday night, and a 1 in a million branding experience. Grandmaster ride, and yes, Nebraska is a no helmet law. So show up, ride safe, represent your chapter, keep Blue Lodge first, and remember, the sun never sets on the widow's sons. This is Two Burning Tapers. Love you guys.
Peace.
Awesome. Peace. That's amazing.
All right, we're all done, man. We're idiots.
Cool.
Hey, you're still recording, but we're still idiots.